Hello, hello. Sorry I'm late. I had some technical difficulties. Uh, I'm not even sure that this is live in the event, but maybe it is. Anyway, I hope everyone can hear me. Give me 1 second. And yeah. Okie dokie. So, welcome to Soma Yoga, Connect to Center. The first, actually, invitation is to find a comfortable position. I'm going to start lying down, but you are welcome to stay seated or maybe to stand. In Soma Yoga, you are the expert, so whatever you choose is the right choice, right? Choosing is more important than doing. And with that, as you make your way to however you'd like to arrive in your practice, to arrive in your body, to arrive in the space around you, maybe seeing if there's anything you could do to make yourself like 1 or 2% more comfortable. And if there is, you might allow yourself to do that now. Yeah, noticing if that brings anything up for you. When you allow yourself to get comfortable, you might even say to yourself, I deserve to feel comfort. Yeah. And if you'd like, you could have your eyes open or perhaps turning your gaze inward and closing your eyes. And the next invitation, if it feels okay for you, is to start to notice the parts of your body that are connecting to the surface below you. So depending on the position of our body, that might be different things. For me, it's the back of my body, the soles of my feet. And if it's interesting to you, you might begin to notice if you could feel support of that surface underneath you. So if you could feel the floor, the ground, the earth, gravity holding your body up. One of my mentors likes to say that gravity is proof that the earth wants us here. Our first secure attachment. It's like getting a big hug from earth, from our mama earth, right? Yeah, so maybe noticing if you could feel into that. And if there's any parts of you that are like resisting that, just kind of acknowledging, knowing that there's no need to judge or to change them in any way. You might even place your hands on these parts of your body. For me, it's like I feel a little contraction in my belly. So maybe just putting your hands on these parts of you and just letting them know that you see them and hear them and that it's okay. Yeah, and the next part of our practice, if you want to, everything I say or show is just a suggestion in Soma Yoga. So knowing that you have the option to to not do what I suggest, right? But if you want to, if you're curious, the invitation is to start to bring your attention towards this, the center of your body, towards the navel. In early development, the navel is actually where all our nourishment comes in and waste goes out while we're in the womb of our mom, right? Speaking of Mother's Day. So maybe bringing attention to your navel and this place where life started, where the nourishment was coming in. And in some modalities of somatics, the center, this navel, is our is our center where our impulses come from, right? So we could be thinking about doing or moving, or we could be following these impulses that start with the breath. So if you want, maybe noticing as you inhale and exhale, if you feel this movement coming from your navel, from your center. You might notice, sense, or imagine an impulse going into your arms, maybe going into your legs. And then the other two limbs being the head and tail. So in all, we have 6 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs. So maybe noticing, feeling, or imagining these kind of invisible strings of energy moving into your limbs. Or another possibility to explore this could be to start to initiate movement from your core, your navel, to your limbs. Kind of like a starfish, because a starfish also has her mouth, right, in the center. So you might even notice or explore this kind of like starfish movement initiating from your core. Maybe inhaling and finding some movement with 1 or 2 of your limbs, or maybe all of them, and exhaling, kind of curling in. And this doesn't have to look any right way, right? There's no right or wrong way. This could even look like bringing all your limbs into this kind of fetal position, curling in, and then expanding out. So you're welcome to kind of explore this in your own way, feeling into what it's like to be a starfish, or into those early developmental patterns of the source of intelligence or energy coming from your center, your navel. Yeah, and then maybe another moment or two here. Maybe even exploring like opposite limb to opposite limb. And when you feel like this is complete for you, the invitation is to come back to center. And if to your maybe like a physical or energetic center, right? Or maybe even placing your hands on your navel, on your center. And if setting intentions is something that you practice, maybe taking a moment to do that now. And if you don't have an intention, you could borrow mine, which is to try to remember to stay connected to your navel, to your center throughout the remainder of the practice, and maybe carrying it into your day. Alrighty, beautiful. And from here, the next invitation is, if you'd like some more guided movement, is to bring your left leg over your right. So just crossing one leg over the other. And you could keep your legs like that and just kind of chilling here. Or another option might be to lift your legs up. And the third option, right, there's 3 possibilities: keeping your feet on the ground, lifting them up, or maybe lifting your head and shoulders if you want to explore feeling more from that center or navel, right, or your core. So choosing one of these options and knowing that none of them are better than the other, right? So maybe your head is still on the ground, maybe your feet are on the ground, and sometimes we don't know until we try. So you're welcome to explore all of these options and choose one that works for you. And wherever you are, maybe feeling into your navel and noticing how that energy radiates out, this navel radiation. And then whenever you're ready, you might come back to center. And if you'd like, inviting your knees to fall from side to side, this kind of windshield wiper movement. And maybe letting this feel good. That could perhaps be a compass, a North Star for today's practice as well, is to find movements that feels okay or nourishing or good. And you could stay with this longer if you want, or if you want to explore those eagle legs that we did before, maybe finding stillness for a moment and crossing your other leg over. So maybe it's your right leg this time. And again, you could choose your own adventure here. So you could keep your legs on the ground, maybe lifting them higher, or perhaps adding that third layer of lifting your head and shoulders off the ground. So choosing your adventure. And wherever you are, you might notice that even in stillness, there's still movement. You may still notice, sense, or imagine that kind of warmth, energy radiating out from your navel, from your core. Maybe noticing your breath as it moves your body, contracting and expanding. Noticing which muscles are engaging right now to support you in whatever shape you're making with your body. And whenever you feel ready, you might untangle yourself and then bringing all your limbs in again for a little self-hug into this, what we call bija or seat pose. And if you want, maybe exploring a little bit of rocking from either side to side. Or another way to rock could be up and down. And whichever option you're going with, knowing that you could choose your range of motion, your tempo, right? You could choose the size of your movement. Maybe you're in the mood for a micro movement or some larger movement. There's no right or wrong. This is just an invitation to explore, to get curious what your body might be needing in this moment. And the next time you roll up or forward, the invitation is to roll all the way up and to bring your feet about hips width apart and to find those windshield wiper movements again, this time in a seated position. And you're welcome to stay with your hands supporting you. Or another option could be to explore it without your hands, right? Look, Ma, no hands. And you might notice it feels different. You may feel or notice some more sensation around your navel, your core. And perhaps inviting this movement to come from that intention, from the impulse, curling in, opening out. So inviting your brain, your mind to drop down into your core and perhaps allowing what you feel guide your movement. And the next time your knees come over to the right, the invitation is to pause for a moment. And you have another opportunity to choose. Perhaps you want to stay in this deer shape in stillness, or maybe you want to add a little flow, a little movement. So if you want to play with that, you might start to lift your left arm up as you inhale and as you exhale, curling in. And perhaps exploring this a couple of times if you want. You could mirror me, kind of moving at the same time, or finding your own rhythm, your own flow, your own tempo. So this is an opportunity for a little micro empowerment, right? To make a decision based on what you want, what you feel, not what you should. Yeah, maybe some sound wants to come out. Breathing naturally, or perhaps a long breath in. Maybe a longer breath out. When we invite the breath to get longer and when we make sound as we exhale, that invites the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest, for digest. for a feeling of being connected to the world and to ourselves. And whenever you're ready, you could make it over to the other side. So bringing your knees over to the left, and you might stay in stillness, perhaps feeling into what does this side of your body want to do? Does it want to stay still, or might you want to add that movement? Maybe inhaling as you reach, exhaling as you curl in. And maybe letting it feel good. This is your practice and you are in charge. Maybe staying here for another couple of moments. And if you'd like, the next invitation is to make your way to a seated pose or shape for a moment or two. You could be sitting on a chair, on a couch, on the ground, maybe taking a sip of water. And if you'd like, the invitation is to start to move your spine in this kind of circular motion. And again, you could explore, right? You could explore the tempo. You could explore the range of motion, the direction. And there's a possibility when you're doing this that you might notice some sensation. You might feel some pockets of tension that want your attention. And if you do, one thing you could explore is sending your attention there, right? You might send your breath to these parts of you and see how they respond. You might even say, like, I see you. I feel you. Thank you for working so hard. Usually when there's tightness, tension in muscles, it's like a sign that our nervous system is getting ready. It's bracing for some movement. And when we allow our body to move, this tension might just start to melt away. Yeah, and then you're welcome to stay with this for another moment or two. And then whenever you are ready, perhaps coming back to center and pausing. A little sacred pause just to kind of integrate and feel into, absorb the practice that we just did. So our mind usually works a lot faster than the body, than the nervous system. So allowing them to catch up and absorbing everything that feels supportive, nourishing, leaving the rest behind. And just kind of checking in, like, how are you feeling now? Has anything shifted? No wrong answer, by the way. Just getting curious, right? It's only when we notice what's here can we take care of what's here. Yeah. And then whenever you're ready, the invitation is to start to make your way to a tabletop shape. And from here, some more, an invitation for some more perhaps free movement or intuitive movement, right? One way to do that could be by rounding and arching your back, kind of like a cat and cow, right? As we sometimes call. So that's like a more traditional movement that you could play around with. Another option might be to make this circular movement, maybe from side to side. Or a third layer that you're welcome to play around with is to just kind of explore. And it doesn't even have to be like anything that looks like yoga. Like all these yoga shapes are made up anyway. But maybe exploring what feels good and what wants to happen. You might even notice, sense, or imagine and connect to that navel intelligence from your center, from your core. And imagine it moving your body following those impulses of what feels good and what wants to happen. And you're welcome to stay with this longer if you want. Or if you'd like to continue some more guided movement, the invitation is to make your way onto your belly into Sphinx pose. So bringing your forearms kind of shoulder width apart. And I will give some options as I like to do, right? There's always options. So you could stay kind of chilling in Sphinx pose in stillness. Maybe noticing your shoulder blades as they come closer. And you might even feel your ribs expand and contract as you breathe. Another option might be to explore engaging the core, our theme, right? Connecting to your center. So if you want to do that, you might start to bring your chin towards your chest as you round through your upper back. And then noticing what happens on that transition when you come back. So if you want, exploring this a couple of times, curling in, you might notice a contraction, some warmth, some shaking, some tremoring in your belly, and then coming back. Another layer you could add is the next time you curl in, you could explore what it's like to lift your hips. That might feel different. Or the last option to play around with could be to tuck your toes and to lift your hips and your legs. So you're welcome to play around with whichever option is kind of calling to you. And wherever you are, noticing that transition of what it happens when you go from that contraction to the expansion. What happens to your breath? What happens to your thoughts? What happens to the muscles in your face? Yeah, and then on your next breath in and out, the invitation is to bring your hands on top of each other and to come into crocodile, just kind of resting your head for a couple of moments and noticing any residual sensations that still might be present. I'm definitely feeling a little bit of tingling, a little warmth around my navel. And as you're here, if you want, maybe even noticing what happens when you breathe in and out. Maybe notice, sense, or imagine that navel radiation, those invisible strings of energy radiating from your core, your navel, to your arms, to your legs, to your head and tail. Those new pathways, the pathways of connection. Yeah, and you're welcome to chill here longer if you want. And whenever you feel ready to continue moving your body some more, you might make your way into downward facing dog. There's many different ways to do downward dog, right? You could have your knees bent. You could have your knees straight. Maybe bending and straightening. And there's probably like your favorite way, right? So you're welcome to choose something different than what I'm doing, right? This is your practice. This is your yoga, and you are in charge. And you can make this yoga fit you and your body, right? You don't have to force yourself to fit into yoga. And then from here, if you want to, you might look in between your hands, maybe step, maybe hop, and pausing in the standing forward fold, or what we sometimes call ragdoll, for a couple of moments. Perhaps in stillness, or maybe finding this kind of swaying from side to side. This necklace. And as you're here, you might notice your connection to the ground, to the earth. There's a possibility you might feel or notice some sensation in the back of your legs. Maybe shaking your head, no and yes, from side to side. And then in your own time, if you want to, coming all the way up to standing. And taking a moment to reorient, right, to what it's like to stand. We were on the mat for quite some time. You might even kind of look around your room, the space you're in, and see if there's anything that you really like a favorite plant, animal, decoration. And just kind of absorbing that in for a moment. Yummy. Yeah, and if you're interested in continuing your movement practice, the next invitation is to bring your shoulders up to your ears and kind of engaging all your muscles for a moment. Everything tight, and then noticing what it's like when you kind of invite your body to soften. Maybe one more time. Shoulders to ears. You might make your fists with your hands, inviting all your muscles to engage. And then inviting your whole body to kind of, like a wet noodle. You might even find this kind of like, I don't know what to call this movement, but just inviting your hands to kind of flop around from side to side like wet noodles. And noticing that difference between that contraction and the flow. Yeah, and as you're ready, you might come back to your center, and I will offer some balancing. And if you have any blocks or books that you want to bring, maybe doing that now. And this will involve that shape that we made while we were on the mat. So this kind of eagle leg shape. I will give a couple of options. So first, maybe finding our starfish, right? The starfish shape that we did in the beginning on the ground. And connecting with your center, with your navel, with your power, that somatic intelligence, the nourishment that lives in your core. And then bringing your limbs in and choosing a leg that you want to start with. I'm going to go on my left leg. And you could either place your right leg in front of your left, maybe bringing it onto a block, or perhaps crossing leg over leg like we did lying down. And coming in, kind of rounding, curling in. And then as you're ready, the invitation is to come back to that star, expanding outward. And then curling back in over to the other side, left foot in front of right, maybe leg on block, or crossing your legs. And now that you know this pattern, the invitation is to repeat this a couple of times from this expansion of the star, choosing your version of this eagle, right? And there's no better or worse version. They're just different. We have different bodies that have different needs. And that's perfectly okay. And it's what makes us beautiful and individual. And then exploring this in your own way, from the starfish to the eagle. You might even add the same eagle arms, right? So crossing leg over leg, and repeating this a couple of times, finding your own flow. Your movement with your breath, inhaling to open, exhaling to contract. Knowing you're welcome to pause or to do something different at any time for any reason. Yeah, and then another thing that we're doing here is crossing the midline. And this also integrates both hemispheres of the brain, the right and the left. So lots of good stuff happening. And whenever you're ready, the invitation is to come back to center and then to come back to the front of the mat. You might even place your hands flat across your heart and notice, sense, or imagine if you could feel your heart beating. Mine's beating pretty fast. You might notice, sense, or imagine your aliveness, your heart as it beats, your breath as it moves in and out. Your breath might be flowing a little faster. That is that aliveness, or our sympathetic nervous system. Yeah, beautiful. And I will offer one more movement with breath and rhythm right now, if you'd like to explore it. In the beginning, if you want, the invitation is to reach your arms towards the ceiling. And you might feel into the power in your arms. You might even imagine that your hands are pushing into the ceiling. So feeling the engagement of your muscles, your bones, and at the same time, noticing if you could still feel your feet on the ground. And from here, from this dimension of of upward, coming into the dimension of sideways, this dimension represents our connection, our belonging to all living beings. And as you kind of push into these imaginary walls, feeling into the power in your arms, in your limbs, maybe noticing if you feel those invisible strings of connection from your center, from your navel. And then as you're ready, finding the downward direction. So you might find yourself in a forward fold with bent or straight legs. And this downward direction represents our connection to the ground, to the earth. And as you're ready, maybe making your way all the way back up. And if you'd like to explore this again, but adding breath, sometimes we call this the breath of joy, or more scientific term is the physiological sigh, which involves 2 inhales and an exhale. So it's inhale, inhale, exhale, fold. So if you want, inhaling up, inhaling to the side, exhaling, and perhaps exploring this a couple of times, finding your rhythm. Maybe one last time. And pausing, a sacred pause, to notice if anything has shifted, if anything remains, and how are you feeling now in this moment? I feel some tingling, some aliveness. I notice my mouth is like wanting to smile, so maybe the breath of joy is working. Who knows? But I'm curious, what is happening for you? There's no right or wrong way. Just kind of getting curious with what shows up. Yeah. And if you'd like to continue your moving yoga practice or asana practice, the invitation is to inhale and reach your arms up, palms meet, and exhale, folding forward. Inhaling, you might lift halfway up, and as you exhale, stepping back to downward facing dog. Staying here for a couple of moments, a couple of breaths. In your version of down dog, your knees could be bent or straight. You could also place your knees on the ground if you'd like, right? You're welcome to pause at any time, drinking some water. Your body is your greatest expert, right? And my encouragement to you is to listen, or to start to listen, right? Like, when does your body say yes? When does it say no? When does it say maybe? And our bodies don't speak through language, but through sensation, through temperature, through movement, through emotion, and even subconscious imagery, right? And as you're ready, the next invitation is to lift your right leg up at any amount and to step it in between your hands. And you could have your hands on the ground, or you might use some blocks or books. And if you want to, inviting your hips to come down, inviting your heart to come forward, and finding this kind of rocking movement from front to back. Choosing how much you want to rock, and maybe letting what you feel in your body help you decide. And on your next breath in and out, the invitation is to come all the way up. Woo! So coming up to a high lunge. And I will give a couple of options here, right? The first option is to chill as you are in stillness, right? First option. The second option might be to start to bend, or straighten, to straighten your front leg, while you bend your back leg. And the third choice could be to add a little bit of pulsing. So kind of micro bending and straightening your back leg. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, and wherever you are, perhaps noticing or connecting to your center, to your navel, and letting the rest of your body organize from that core, from your center. And if you want to, you might start to make your way back to high lunge, so where we started. And I will give a couple of more options, right? So you're welcome to stay here, or maybe starting to find some movement with your upper body. If you want to explore that, you might bring your hands together as you inhale, and exhale, twisting to the right. And then maybe coming back, inhaling, arms up, exhaling, hands down. Inhaling, center, exhaling back. And if you want, maybe repeating this a couple of times, moving with me or finding your own rhythm, your own flow. Yeah, and the invitation is to let what you feel in your body help you choose. So dropping your brain down into your body. And the next invitation is to find your way back to center and to ground through your back heel, coming into warrior two. So turning your torso and your arms, extending out. So the torso towards the long edge of the mat. You might find your inhale. Finish your exhale. And whenever you are ready, let's meet back down in downward facing dog. And in this dog this time, you're welcome to explore it however you like. Or another option might be to add some spinal movement. So if you'd like to explore rounding your spine forward, and then bending your knees, arching your lower back, and bringing your hips back. Maybe inhaling forward, exhaling back. You're also welcome to explore this with your knees down. So maybe like we did in the beginning, right? Like this kind of cat and cow, rounding and arching. And the next invitation is to find your center, to look in between your hands and either step or hop to the front of the mat. And let's meet back in mountain pose, right? Or Tadasana at the front of the mat. Pausing for a moment or two. Maybe noticing your breath. A little sacred pause to kind of absorb all the benefits from the practice and leaving the rest behind. So allowing your nervous system to soak in whatever feels nourishing. And if you'd like, perhaps one more time, finding that contraction and floppy wet noodle, or what I like to call robot, and then spaghetti. So bringing your shoulders up to your ears, making your whole body tight like a robot, and then inviting your muscles to kind of soften and your arms to flop around like a wet noodle. What happens in your face? What happens in your thoughts and your energy when you shift from that contraction to the soft expansion? Maybe one more time, coming back to center and coming into the robot. Muscles tight, bringing your shoulders up to your ears, maybe making some weird face with your mouth. And then what is it like when you intentionally invite your body to become a wet noodle? And whenever you're ready, you could stay with this if you want, or perhaps find your center. And on your next breath in, the invitation is to reach your arms up, and as you exhale, folding forward. And from here, inhaling halfway up, and exhaling back to downward facing dog. Maybe noticing the texture of the mat, of the ground. If you could feel your connection to the ground. And from this shape of down dog, you might notice, sense, or imagine your connection to your center, to your navel, and how it radiates out to all your limbs, your 6 limbs of your legs, your arms, your tail, your head, and how your body organizes from this center, the center of energy. And on your next breath in and out, the invitation is to lift your left leg up any amount and to step it in between your hands, keeping your hands on the ground, or you might use your blocks. And like last time, right, you could explore the size of this pulsing, right? And maybe this leg has a different story, right? So in Soma Yoga, it's not about getting things right or even on both sides, but kind of attuning to what is present, right? Like meeting yourself where you're at. So what does this side of your body need? What does it want? What are the messages that your body's sending you through sensation, through pockets of tension, right? And if you find some pockets of tension, I'm feeling some on my right quad, you might send your awareness there. Maybe send your breath there. Or maybe send some energy from your navel. And then as you're ready, making your way up, either with the support of your hands, or maybe no hands, coming all the way up to our high lunge. And again, you have an opportunity to choose here, right? What do you feel like doing? You're welcome to stay like this, or starting to straighten your front leg as you bend your back leg. And you could chill here, or maybe finding that micro pulse, bending and straightening your back knee. And wherever you are, the invitation is to notice which muscles and bones are supporting you right now in this shape that you're making with your body. You might notice how is your breath. And maybe noticing any thoughts coming and going, and are they kind thoughts or unkind? Like, are you sweet talking or shit talking? And it's all welcome here, right? Like just kind of getting curious to whatever is happening in this moment. And if you want to, starting to bend your front leg again, coming back into our high lunge. And again, taking the opportunity to choose if you want to stay, or perhaps finding that movement with the top part of your body. So you might inhale, exhale, arms down to the heart. And then inhaling, twisting to the left, and coming back to center. And if this is interesting to you, repeating this little mini flow in your own tempo, in your own rhythm. And sometimes we don't know until we try, right? And it's perfectly okay for you to do something different than what I'm doing. So this is your chance to tune in to what do you want? What is your body needing? What wants to happen next? And trusting that you have the answers within you. And whenever you feel like this is complete for you, the invitation is to ground through your back heel, turn your torso towards the long edge of the mat, and reach your arms out wide into Warrior Two. You might find your inhale and your exhale here. And maybe connecting to your navel, connecting to your center. You might even feel this kind of, even in the stillness of this traditional Warrior Two shape, you might feel the energy radiating out as you inhale and exhale, like the starfish, contracting, expanding. And on your next breath in and out, the invitation is to meet in downward facing dog. And the next invitation is to bring your knees down to the mat and to meet in down in child's pose, right? So bringing your hips down to your heels and inviting your head down to the mat. A moment for a little sacred pause, allowing the mind and body to catch up, the nervous system to integrate. Noticing any residual sensations. I'm definitely feeling some warmth around the top part of my legs and my belly and my core. And I'm curious, what are you noticing? No wrong answer. And we're almost getting towards the end of our practice. And if you'd like to explore a couple of more shapes before we practice rest or Shavasana, invitation is to come back to downward facing dog. And I will give a couple of options. All right, so you're welcome to stay in your down dog. You could also stay in your child's pose, right? Or another layer to explore could be to bring the weight of your body forward into high plank. So bringing your shoulders over your wrists. You could explore pressing your heels back to engage the back part of your body. And then the last exploration I'm going to offer is to play around with a side plank. If you want to play around with that, you could shift your weight over to the the right outer edges of your feet, and maybe bringing your left arm up. So maybe you're exploring side plank right now. Perhaps you're in plank. Maybe your knees are down on the mat and you're in child's pose. There's no right or wrong way, right? So choosing one, or maybe exploring all of them. And if you are in side plank, then the invitation is to come back through plank and maybe trying this out on the other side. So maybe coming on to your left outer edges of your feet. And if you want, exploring, reaching your right arm up. And on your next breath in and out, the invitation is wherever you are to release your knees, chest and chin down to the mat and come back to our Sphinx pose. A familiar shape. Yeah, and I'm going to offer a couple of options, a couple of layers, right? And you could choose your own adventure. So you could stay in this traditional Sphinx, or another way of doing it could be to bring your right knee up into this half frog Sphinx. And then the last layer I'm going to offer is to reach your right arm out to the right and to add this movement of inhaling and looking behind your right shoulder and exhaling, curling down. So you're welcome to choose, right? One of these options. And maybe letting what you feel in your body help you choose. And perhaps moving towards what feels okay or maybe even good. We now know that it's physiologically impossible to be really stressed out and feel good at the same time. Isn't that something? Staying with your natural breath, or perhaps a long breath in. Maybe letting something go as you exhale out. And you could stay with this side longer perhaps, or maybe starting to make your way back through center. Or maybe you're just chilling in Sphinx. That's perfectly great too, right? And if you want to explore this on the other side, inviting your left knee up, staying with that, or adding that optional layer of reaching your left arm out to the left and looking behind your left shoulder and then curling back down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And whenever this feels complete for you, the invitation is to come back through center and to roll over onto your back. And I will offer one last exploration. So if you want to, bringing your knees in towards your chest, coming into this kind of fetal position again, right? Curling in and choosing a side and inviting your knees over to the side, coming into a twist. You might notice that when the spine is twisting in this way, your breath might get a little more shallow. Just knowing that that's perfectly normal. staying with that, or maybe inviting some more air. So maybe a longer breath in, maybe a longer breath out, if that's available to you, right? And in your own time, you're welcome to come back to center, perhaps, and find your twist on the other side. And whenever this feels complete for you, you might come back to center and taking the next minute or so to tune in and to check to see if there's any movement or shape that's missing for you, right? Maybe there's something you really like doing that we haven't done. So you're welcome to do that now. I'm actually going to find this kind of, what it's called technically is pandiculation, or this kind of yummy stretching. Kind of like an animal waking up after a nap. And yawning. And traditionally, we practice rest or shavasana in stillness, but not everyone is comfortable doing that, right? And that's perfectly okay. So you're welcome to keep moving your body if you want to, right? Not everyone feels safe in stillness. So you could keep moving your body. You could keep your eyes open. Or if you'd like to explore this more traditionally in a still posture, finding your way there now. Perhaps that's lying down. Maybe you want to put your legs up the wall. I'm actually going to sit. So choosing how you want to spend the next 5 or so minutes. And if you want to practice your rest, shavasana, longer, you're welcome to do that. Yeah, and so as you make your way to the shape that you're making with your body, whether in stillness or in movement, the invitation is to notice the parts of you that are connecting to the surface below you. And noticing if you could feel the support of the surface below you. Can you feel your body being held up? And noticing, where can you feel that support, right? Is it noticeable or felt on the outer edges of your skin? Perhaps you notice or feel the support somewhere deeper still in your muscles and fascia. Maybe you can notice and feel the support deeper still, all the way to your bones and each and every single one of your cells in your body. It's kind of like a big warm blanket or a cocoon supporting your whole body. And just knowing it's perfectly okay if not all parts of your body are down for this practice of rest or relaxation. If there's pockets of tension, maybe sending them a little bit of attention and saying it's okay. And seeing if it's okay if they soften like 1 or 2% more. You might start to notice your ears as they listen to the sounds around you. The sound of my voice and the sounds coming from your own body. There's a possibility that there's some thoughts coming and going. Just knowing that it's perfectly normal. That's what the mind does. You could, if it feels authentic, say, thank you, mind, for having my back, for working so hard, and then coming back to your body, to the support you're receiving from the surface below you. To your center, your navel, as it breathes and moves your body, expanding as you inhale, contracting as you exhale. And staying with this for a couple more minutes, coming back again and again to the present moment, awakening to being alive. You could take a couple of intentional breaths. And maybe starting to feel to the outer edges of your body, locating yourself in space, feeling into the space around you, that warm cocoon, the warm blanket, and noticing perhaps the distance from you to the walls, the ceiling, the ground. And you might take this moment, this opportunity to check in and see, how are you feeling now? No wrong answer. And there's a possibility you might be feeling an impulse, perhaps coming from your navel, radiating out to one of your limbs, to start to move your body in some way. That might be like a wiggling of fingers or toes. Perhaps this impulse is bigger, like a big yummy stretch. Or like rolling over to either side of the mat, perhaps. What is your impulse wanting to do? And if your eyes are closed, the invitation is to gently start to open them and reorient to the space around you. noticing the colors, shadows, shapes. And in your own time, you're welcome to come back to a seated posture and finish your practice. And thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to practice together. The good in me sees the good in you. And just wanted to invite you that next week I will be doing a live again. And probably I will be continuing these from now on. And if you would like to hang on to these videos for longer, then reach out to me to get some information about my Soma Heal membership, where I have a library full of these practices, not only Soma Yoga, but also other somatic healing practices. So if that sounds like something that's interesting, let me know. And yeah, thank you. See you around. Bye.